everyone, it's Alexander the Real Mr. Robinson, and this is my review for The Gentleman, which is the latest crime gangster movie from Guy Ritchie, coming off of the billion-dollar success that was the live-action remake of Aladdin. And before I get started with this review, yes, I'm doing audio reviews again. I do not want to go into details on why I'm doing audio reviews, but let me just prepare you guys right now that it's going to be a couple videos before you actually see my face again. So be prepared for a lot of audio reviews where you have to hear my voice and not look at me at the same time. But with that being said, let's dive into this review. As I said before, this is the latest movie from Guy Ritchie, and it takes place in the UK, where we follow a drug lord played by Matthew McConaughey, who, don't worry, is not doing a British accent, because in the movie his character was born in the US, but came out here in the UK to basically go to college and sell weed. I say come out here as if I'm living in the UK. That's funny. Anyway, he is looking to sell his business to some other parties, but there's a lot of backstabbing that goes on, and this private investigator is looking into the entire story, and those are the basic elements that you need to know. Now I'm going to come clean right now. I am not too familiar with Guy Ritchie's filmography before he did Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was the first movie of his that I actually saw. I didn't see Snatch, I didn't see Swept Away, which I heard was terrible, but I love Sherlock Holmes. I had fun with The Man from U.N.C.L.E, and I actually enjoyed his remake of Aladdin from last year. It was probably the biggest surprise of that year. So with The Gentleman, it's not based off of any pre-existing material, so that got me a little curious, and a lot of people are saying this is Guy Ritchie going back to form, which, for Guy Ritchie going back to form, this is actually my introduction to that Guy Ritchie, and I thought the movie was pretty good. It honestly didn't blow me away for a couple reasons. The main problem I have with this movie is kind of the way he decides to tell the story. This is not really a spoiler because this happens very early on in the movie, but the movie is told from the perspective of this private investigator played by Hugh Grant, who is great in the movie. Hugh Grant's really starting to pick a lot of great roles recently, but I thought the method of telling the story was a little confusing. There are a lot of points in this movie, especially with the storytelling, where Guy Ritchie really tried to be the British Tarantino. I mean, this movie doesn't have long scenes of nothing happening or dialogue scenes just for the sake of showing off his dialogue like Tarantino, but it was a little confusing to follow. And after a while, you just kind of got lost on how things were supposed to play out. It's not until you get to the end of the movie where it does its big wrap-up where you go, oh, okay, I see how it's going here. But even then, the movie just kind of stumbles once you get that big wrap-up. I'm like, well, you just confused me again, thanks a lot. But that's not to say the movie's necessarily terrible, or even bad. I don't even think this is a bad movie. I think the storytelling aspect is just a little wonky. What's good about the movie, though, is the dialogue itself and the performances. Like I said, you've got Matthew McConaughey in here, who is really good, and you're just grateful to not see him in a movie like Serenity from last year, which, oh boy, if you still haven't seen it, it's one of those you need to see it to believe it movies. And like I said before, it's not Matthew McConaughey trying to do a British accent, because they established in the movie that this character was born in the US but came out to the UK to be a drug lord, pretty much. He's good. Charlie Hunnam plays his right-hand man, who normally, I don't like Charlie Hunnam. I just think he's kind of a flat actor, but he was actually pretty good here. Then you also have Henry Golding from Crazy Rich Asians. He's good as well. But the two big scene stealers for me were Hugh Grant, as I mentioned beforehand, and Colin Farrell, who is absolutely hilarious in this role. Colin Farrell just plays this really crazy guy who isn't necessarily a gangster, but he's sort of called in by drug lords from time to time to take care of some business. There's some great dialogue here and there. There were points in this movie that actually made me laugh, and some of it was through the dialogue, and other times it was through its ridiculous violence. There are just some moments in there, kind of like in Pulp Fiction, where Marvin gets shot in the face, that you're technically not supposed to laugh at, but it comes out being funny regardless. So I don't have much else to say about The Gentleman. I had a fun time. It didn't really blow my mind, but it was definitely a neat gangster movie that I'd say it's good. It's not great. Again, I think the storytelling is just a little misguided and often very confusing to follow. And to be honest, I forgot how the movie ended because it was so confusing. But the performances are decent, and at the end of the day, it's a fun enough gangster movie that if you saw this in the theaters, you wouldn't be that disappointed. And there you go, that's my review for The Gentleman. And now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? What's your favorite Guy Ritchie movie? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you, there's only one.